that chat about Daniel Ricciardo I mentioned about in my last video, yeah? Overall, historically, Danny Ric ain't that in a bad driver. He has a good racing record, he's won races, got pole positions, he's been on the podium quite a few times, but the start of this season for him hasn't been great. It hasn't been outright terrible. I mean, it could always be worse. I mean, he could be Logan Sargent or, well, one of the Alpines. Sorry, Sargent fans and Alpine fans. But it hasn't been as good as perhaps it could have been. I think generally we all expected more for Ricciardo is what I'm saying. Frankly, I think we maybe all expected a little bit more of Toro Rosso or RB or whatever you want to call them than what we've seen so far. I think we all expected them to be a little bit better than they have seemed to be, but then again, Haas are a lot better than we expected them to be. Anyway, as I said in my last video, he has had his moments since his comeback mid-last season or well. Moment, really, as in Mexico, he was bloody good. He was up there in qualifying, up there in the race, scoring really good points, and I suppose that was the performance that made us all kind of think, okay, yeah, perhaps he's genuinely going to be a threat for Checo's seat. Maybe Checo might want to kind of keep one eye on his back. And if we look back to his 2022 season with McLaren, again, he had his moments where things went quite well for him. Australia was really good for him with a P6 finish, and then Singapore and Mexico later in the season. And in Mexico, that was despite a 10-second penalty for that incident with Yuki, which, let's be honest, rather stupid of him, I won't lie. But the thing about Daniel Ricciardo these days in this new regulation set is his moments, his good moments, they're a bit few and far between. And as we all can, his 2022 season with McLaren, overall, it wasn't brilliant, and things just didn't end up really going well. It didn't end up gelling for him and McLaren, especially in that 2022 season. Of course, things going south in that season is what led to him being dropped and led to where we are now, where he was, back mid-season, he got his hand injury, which then led to us being able to see what Liam Lawson could do in a Formula 1 car, and all of us thinking, yeah, nah, get this man on the grid. And now, in 2024, where Tsunoda has been outshining him. Now again, he hasn't been terrible, and he did move forward 6 places from 18th to 12th in Australia, which is good, but I feel like we definitely would have been expecting Murphy, a multiple-time race winner. We wouldn't really expect him to be, being outclassed by a driver with much less experience. Although, mind you, what am I saying? I'm pretty sure one of my predictions for the season was Tsunoda would outclass Ricciardo. Anyway, perhaps some of this could come down to his driving style and car preference. Every driver will have, their preference of car, and perhaps the 2024 car that's a little bit more suited to Yuki and what he likes, and perhaps it's taken the Japanese driver a lot less time to get used to this 2024 car, and it's just taken Daniel a little bit more. And perhaps there is something about this generation of cars that just does not work for Daniel, as was being chatted about in the comments of my last video. And there does seem to be, I think, something with this 2024 car he has underneath him, the V-Carbo 1 or STR15 as I called it at one point, because let's be fair, it looks like a Toro Rosso, as we all know. But I think there does seem to be something about that car that just Ricciardo isn't comfortable with yet, with team principal Laurent Mekies saying that the team is behind the Australian and they need to give him a car that he's more comfortable with. Give him a car that he's more comfortable with and he'll do the business, surely. I mean, that's how it should work, right? You give a driver a car he's more comfortable with, he'll give you the results. Or, well, better results. Now, there are those rumours that went around about how he would be replaced if he didn't improve in the next couple of races, which have been put down as false now by Helmut Marko. But in the article I saw reporting that Marko had confirmed the rumour to be false, he said mid-season swap cannot be ruled out. I don't know if that's the thoughts of the writer of the article or from Marko, but it is a bit of a true point that, yeah, given the Red Bull camp's history, if Ricciardo still isn't really performing come the summer, or he's not performing to the Red Bull camp's standards, he could be out in favour of Lawson. Would it be harsh for Daniel to be dropped mid-season? Well, yeah, of course it would be. It'd be harsh for anybody to be dropped mid-season, but I feel like it would be a little less harsh than De Vries being dropped mid-season. Let me explain my thinking on that. It all comes down to the fact that at the time of being dropped, De Vries had 10 races as a full-time F1 driver, and the fact that he just really wasn't a good fit for that team. And honestly, I think he should have been given the full season. Daniel, meanwhile, he has a lot more experience in this sport, and well, yeah, maybe he's lost the spark toward it one way, as I suggested earlier. We probably would have been expecting more from him. That just hasn't materialized. And again, perhaps, as I said, it's due to the fact that there's something with this gen of F1 F1 cars that just doesn't work for Ricciardo. But I still kind of stand my ground on that if he is dropped mid-season, it will be a tiny bit less harsh than De Vries being dropped mid-season. Because I mean, Daniel is not a rookie. De Vries was. Every driver at one point or another will hit a bit more of a rough patch in their career, where things just won't quite go as they'd hoped it will, and perhaps that's where Ricciardo is and he'll find a way out of it. Or maybe he won't and this will be the end of his F1 career. Hopefully he wanna be dropped mid-season and he can at least see out the full season. Hopefully things will improve for him, but my inkling still is that he wanna be on the grid next year, which would suck because I think we all like Daniel, but that's F1, and F1 is harsh sometimes. And with keeping in mind that F1 can be harsh sometimes, I just can't help but feel like Daniel Ricciardo is on thinning ice. But as I said, it could always be worse for him. He could be driving an Alpine. More on that another day. What do you think of Daniel Ricciardo right now? Do you think he'll be dropped at the end of the season, mid-season, or do you think he'll pull it back and will manage to keep a seat on the grid next year? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.